I'm a dude, and I'm inviting you to join me on a podcast about brews.
Does that include stouts?
Yes, of course it includes stouts. Like I was saying, join us every Saturday on the journey into...
Wait a minute. Do you guys do anything about like IPAs?
Yes,
like that?
yes, we do IPAs.
Okay.
Yes. Anyway, join us on the Journey into Comics Network for Brews with Dudes.
Whoa, hey, have you guys do you care if I bring some Zima on?
Yes, I care if you bring Zima. Zima doesn't count. Zima's Dr. Dongo. Anyway, join us every Saturday for a podcast that delves into the craft brew world.
The following is a Journey to Comics Network production.
Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Kids for Sale. I am your host Chris, and with me again is my lovely wife Ashley. Say hi, Ashley.
Hola.
How are you doing today?
You know how I'm doing. We've been together all day.
Well, we've been together, but I've had the band over for a while, so I feel like I haven't gotten to see you much today. We spent some time together this morning, and the band came over, and we kind of did our own things for a little while.
That's fine. I like it when you leave me alone.
Yeah, I bet you do. So today we are going to, I guess, start off by just recapping the last couple of weeks since we last recorded. Just update you on little things that we've done here and there. We've had a couple more baseball games since then. And we talked a lot about baseball last time and the annoying kids and annoying parents. And I'd have to say it hasn't been as bad the last couple of weeks. We had a couple of rain cancellations, so that freed up our schedule a little bit, which was nice. And then really the parents and the kids have all just been kind of doing their own thing, I guess. Like nothing's really gotten too annoying, I don't feel like, in the last couple of weeks. Nothing worth mentioning, I guess, at the baseball games.
Oh, but I know one thing worth mentioning, which is Olivia's dance recital.
I was wondering when you wanted to dive into the dance recital.
Right,
I guess we'll go right into it.
I need to vent.
So Olivia is in a pre-dance class at the dance studio in town, and they just had their spring dance recital at the high school. And, we had to buy tickets, and the tickets were $10 in advance. $15, I believe, at the door, which, I mean, for a kid's dance recital is a little over the top, I feel, but that's not the point. The point, so I guess, do you want to tell the story, or do you want me to tell the story?
Well, I mean,
You go ahead. Let's hear it. Let's hear your version of it.
well, so we get there, and Olivia, I guess, was already freaking out. Like, they had all the kids like in a hallway kind of by the stage, not where everybody was coming in, and apparently she was freaking out, saying she didn't want to go on stage. She didn't want everybody to laugh at her if she messed up, which I don't know where she heard that, but so she's freaking out, and so everybody was supposed to be in the opening number, and then they all had their separate dances, and then everybody was supposed to be in the closing number.
Too many dances, might I add.
Way too many.
We were hoping to go see Livy do her one dance, and it ended up turning into being there for 2 hours.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
I digress. Go on.
So, the opening number, Livy did not come out. And I'm just like, if I sit here through this whole freaking thing and I don't see Livy dance, I'm gonna flip my shit. So she didn't come out for the opening number, right? So here comes her dance. A lot of the kids were in a couple dances, but she was just in the one in the middle. So here comes her dance. And here she comes going across the stage with her mother. Her mother is on the stage with her. So I'm just like, what the hell? So
I was recording it too on my phone, and I felt super uncomfortable continuing recording while she was in the shot. So I was doing my best to cut her out of the shot. But
she was holding Livy's hand, so it was
Yeah.
kind of hard. So thankfully, she just went across the stage with Olivia once and then got off to the side. I was fully expecting her to stay on the whole time. So Livy did end up doing her dance without her mother on the stage with her, even though her mom was on the side of the stage.
I was going to say, her mom was still on the side of the stage, like at the very edge of where the curtain covered. So when they did certain moves, like there's this, I don't know, for any of you that are familiar with dance, it's échappé. It's where it's almost like a jumping jack. They put their arms out and their feet out. And every time she did that, you just see like an adult hand sticking out the side of the curtain. And it was kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, if Livy didn't look so damn cute in that little blue outfit, that would have just ruined the whole thing for me. But so she did her dance, and that was over. Then the closing number comes, and she didn't come out again. And then they did awards. She didn't come out again. So during, I think right before the closing number, so Jess came, which is Chris's ex-wife and Mark and Livy's mom. She came out and made Chris get up and leave the auditorium
to try to go calm Livy down, which I had told her from the very beginning when she came and tapped me on the shoulder and said, Livy's freaking out. And I immediately said, well, just let her, leave her back there. The people that run the dance class, they are used to dealing with kids. They can manage a crying kid for a few minutes. And as soon as we leave her alone, it'll be 5 minutes. She'll be done crying, get it out of her system, and she'll be ready to go. But, she wouldn't leave her alone.
So Chris leaves to go try to calm Livy down. And then here comes Livy down the aisle by herself, perfectly fine, not crying. And then somebody, I think maybe Jess's brother maybe might have led her out to go find where Chris and her mom went. And then she was just, after the recital, she was flipping out, and it was just a friggin' disaster.
When they presented the awards, Livy got a certificate for, completing her first year of dance, and they
threw it at Jess.
They walked it over and handed it to Livy, who was standing at the edge of the stage. And as soon as Livy grabbed it, she just threw it out like behind the curtain. I was taping. Not taping. I was recording.
How old are you?
Yeah, no, I'm old. So I was recording up to when they gave her the certificate, and then when I saw that she wasn't taking the certificate, I cut it. And then as soon as I cut the video, that's when she grabbed the certificate and threw it. And I wish I had kept going just 2 seconds longer. I would have got a good video of that. It would have been funny.
But I guess at least Jess did her. I mean, not Jess. What the hell? Olivia did her dance.
Well, Jess did her dance too.
So at least we saw Olivia do her dance, or else that would have just been like the biggest waste.
It was super adorable. And actually, I posted a video of it on my personal Facebook. Maybe after we're done recording this episode, I can tag it on the Kids for Sale Facebook page and maybe try to get it on Instagram. I'm still new to Instagram, so I'm not too savvy with how to get stuff posted there. But I'm trying to learn for the show. But yeah, maybe check out. By the time this show drops, the video should be up on the Facebook page, so you can see the video of Livy doing her recital dance. And if you watch carefully on the right hand side of the video, you can see her mother dancing behind the curtain.
Carefully to see her go across the stage with her in the first place.
So when she started going across the stage, I cut the video. Because like I said, I didn't want her in it. I wanted just Livy in it. So I saw her coming across the stage. I cut the video for about the first 15 seconds until her mom got across the stage and walked off. And then I started recording after she walked off. But yeah, it was uncomfortable and it was ridiculous.
And let me just note that was the only parent that did that.
The entire show. And there was another kid or two, at least one kid.
That one boy.
Yeah, which actually that's a friend of ours. Well, a friend of mine that I used to work with and actually graduated with. But her kid was freaking out too. And actually, it was funny when they presented the awards, he was standing at the front of the stage
He
just
started
crying.
crying.
Like he saw his mom, and he was like reaching for her, but she was like trapped in the front
so
section,
sad.
like people on both sides of her. She couldn't get out. He was just standing there crying. So somebody luckily came and grabbed him and walked him out to his mom. But that was funny. But she didn't go up on the stage and, hold hands across the stage.
Please, people, don't be helicopter parents.
Yeah,
it's the worst.
it's not necessary. I know you don't want your kid crying, and it's not easy to leave a crying kid, with people that they barely know. But like if you sign someone up for a dance class or the sports or whatever, those people that are coaching, those people that are teaching, they are used to dealing with kids. Kids cry a lot. They know how to handle it. So, just trust them, trust them to handle the situation. If you just stand there holding hands every time, they're going to expect that from you every single time. And then you'll have to do it every single time.
And then you'll be those parents suing their son to move out of their house at 30 something.
Yeah, that guy, well, I guess he's not a kid, huh?
Yeah.
He's older than you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. He sure is.
Yeah, so don't do that.
Yeah.
It's the worst.
Helicopter parents are the worst. They're worse than their kids, usually.
But yeah, I mean, it's very hard with Chris's kids because, she's
Coddles.
a helicopter parent at their house, but then we want the kids to be a little more independent. I mean, we're there for them when they need us, but we try to make the kids a little more independent, so that makes it very hard.
And they know at this point not to try that stuff when they're over here because we don't let them do it. And that's all it takes. You just got to be a little bit firm with them a couple of times. And it sucks sometimes, leaving them sobbing. It's hard. It's heartbreaking. But they get over it pretty quick, And if you keep doing it, kids aren't stupid. They're going to know that you're going to do it every time. So they'll take advantage of it as much as they can because that's what kids do. They take advantage of every situation they can. So yeah, that was the dance recital. There was something else I wanted to talk about. Where were we going to move on from there?
Our weekend, wasn't it?
Oh yeah. So here's something exciting. So with the way our child custody agreements worked out with both me and my ex and Ashley and her ex, we end up having every other weekend to ourselves, basically. My kids will be with their mom, and Ashley's daughter will be with her dad every other weekend. So we get a Friday night and a Saturday night to ourselves, which sometimes works out for us, and we actually do get a weekend off, and we can relax or go have a date night or something. Sometimes it doesn't work out. It's actually not uncommon for Scarlett's dad to not pick Scarlett up sometimes, which is it's a bummer for Scarlett, but it's good for us because we like her being here a lot more than we like her being over there, and we'll leave it at that. We don't want to trash talk right now, but yeah, she's better off over here, so it's okay when he doesn't pick her up. But or like a holiday weekend will come up, and under our custody arrangement, I have the holiday weekend. Like that just happened on Memorial Day weekend. That ended up being my holiday, even though that was supposed to be our kid-free weekend. But we just got our first kid-free weekend in the last 2 months over the weekend, and we took advantage of it. We went out and had ourselves a nice date night. We didn't do anything real fancy. We went to dinner at Olive Garden, which that's Lowell fancy, I guess.
Hillbilly fancy.
Yeah, and then we went shopping a little bit. Went to Bed Bath and Beyond. And Target was Ashley's favorite, and we actually managed to get out of Target without spending $300. So I was pretty proud of us. And let's see what else. We stopped at the Toys R Us because it's everything's on clearance there since they're going out of business. And then after we did our shopping, we went and caught a movie. I already forgot the name of the movie. Hereditary.
Yep.
We went and saw Hereditary, which was I was really bummed leaving the theater. But overall, I think it was a fantastic movie. Overall, it was just the ending just kind of bummed me out. It wasn't what I was expecting. It wasn't what I wanted. But that's not the point of this podcast. The point is, even if you don't have the same kind of arrangement that Ashley and I have, even if you don't have a weekend built in without your kids. Take the time to just get a babysitter it doesn't have to be every other weekend. It can be one weekend a month or even one night every couple of weeks or something. Get yourself a babysitter, go on a date night, because parents need that shit. A healthy relationship is not going to last if the parents can't take care of themselves and take care of each other without the kids being in the way. And I'm not trying to sound like an asshole about the kids, but they are in the way a lot. And they don't always need to be there. You can get rid of them every once in a while.
I'm definitely a believer that your marriage should come before your kids.
And not necessarily just marriage either, but just a healthy relationship.
Your relationship.
And
with your spouse.
And there's something to be said about, oh, well, I want my kids to be around as much as possible, blah, 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 blah. But if you are not taking care of your relationship with your spouse, your significant other,
then
whatever it ends up being,
get a divorce.
Or not even a divorce.
Be separated?
Not even separation. You could live the rest of your life just unhappy. And you're going to teach your children that it's okay to just live and be unhappy for the rest of your life. And that's not a good thing to teach your kids. And I'm a firm believer in that. You take care of the relationship first so that your kids can learn to see what a happy, healthy relationship is. That's something that is very important to anybody with kids, or stepkids, or whatever your living situation might be. Take care of your relationship first, and everything will fall into place afterwards. Not saying you neglect your kids. I'm not saying you ditch your kids every chance you get. I'm just saying make sure you make the time for yourselves, or it'll never work. But no, that's it's pretty serious. It's a pretty serious topic to get off to right away. But I guess that I mentioned stepkids a second ago, and a couple weeks ago on our pilot episode, we teased that that's going to be the subject of tonight's episode. Is step families, being a step parent, stepmom, stepdad, having step kids, step. Because both of us are now step parents as of our wedding in January.
Not wedding, but
well, I guess it was. Okay, our marriage. We got married in January. Mm-hmm. We are now officially both step parents. I have a stepdaughter, Scarlett, and Ashley has a stepson and stepdaughter. That's Mark and Livy. And we have very different, I'm not going to say different viewpoints, but it's been a different experience for both of us being step parents. So my side has been very easy because I've been involved in Scarlett's life since she was very, very young.
6 months.
Very young when me and Ashley started dating. So I've been around as long as she can remember, and she's around our house way more often than not. She's home with us, 12 days out of 14, I guess you could say, and sometimes more than that when he doesn't come pick her up. So I'm the father figure in her life for the most part, and she's it seems like she's starting to have a healthier relationship with her dad, we hope. But for the most part, I've been dad to her, and I'm used to that because I have 2 kids already. So I know what being a dad feels like, and that is how I act with her. I try to anyway. But Ashley has a little bit different situation because, my kids are only over every other weekend. So she hasn't gotten the time to, I don't know, bond with them quite like I have with Scarlett. So I guess I just kind of wanted to let her take over here and tell us a little bit about what it's been like for her being a step parent, So I don't know where you want to start.
Well, I guess, the kids are only over here every other weekend and then like a weeknight. Me and Chris have definitely had very different situations when it comes to our kids. Scarlett doesn't know what it's like to have her actual dad in the picture all the time. I found out I was pregnant with her actually after I left my ex-husband, and I he never even really saw her for the first couple months. And then, yeah, like Chris said, me and him started dating when she was like 6 months old. And, I mean, Scarlett calls her dad, not because we enforce that, but just because, his kids call him that. So that's just what she knows.
What,
and,
you mean she calls me dad?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chris.
Chris dad. She calls Chris dad because his kids call him that. And so that's what she knows. I mean, I never enforce that or anything like that, but and really, I mean, in the definition of a dad, other than the biological part, he is. But so he, like he said, he has it kind of easy. I mean, for him, I mean, I know it's kind of hard for him, like, because, her actual dad is in the picture still, but barely. So, but for me, it's a way different story. He has his 2 kids with his ex, and, they were married up until, Livy had just turned 1, I think, right, when you guys separated? It was a couple months after her first birthday, wasn't it?
It was like right after her first birthday.
And then Mark was, how old would Mark have been? Like 5 or 6?
Mark would have been not quite 5.
Okay, so yeah, so his kids were a little older, and Livy probably doesn't remember that, but Mark certainly does. And I mean, even if Livy doesn't, I mean, just the way it sees to work, in the world right now is, the mom gets the custody. So, I have full custody of Scarlett. And I mean, granted, he didn't really fight for anything, but, and she has full physical custody of the kids. So, Chris has guidelines because in America today, if you don't have money, then you don't get very much custody as a man. But
yeah, she had a better lawyer than me, and that's the only reason I only get my kids every other weekend.
But so they don't. I don't have time to bond with them like Chris has had with Scarlett, and it's already hard enough being with their dad and them having to become used to that, their mom and their dad not being together, and then me being in the picture, and then to only see them every other weekend and like once during the week, that makes it really hard. And then, I mean, anybody who knows me knows I'm fairly quick to bash his ex-wife, but, and, I wouldn't think she would purposefully like tell the kids not to talk to me, blah, blah, blah. But I feel like the kids are dumb, but they're not dumb. They know something's going on. So I almost feel like they were slow to bond with me because of that, because they just knew, like their mom wasn't with their dad or whatever.
I can also say there's been a couple of instances where they've said something that kind of directly indicates that she's been feeding them something. Like, I don't know exactly what, but they'll say something along the lines of, like Mark went when me and Ashley first got married just a few months ago. I brought them home and I said, just so you know, me and Ashley are married now. We're officially a family. Scarlett's officially your sister. Ashley's your stepmom now. And Mark was very quick to say, she's my stepmom, so I can call her mom. And I said, well, yeah, as she's your stepmom now. As like, just so you understand, she's not replacing your mom. She's just a new part of our family. So she's your stepmom. And if you want to call her mom, that's fine. You can do that. But then the next time he came over, he was very quick to say, I'm not supposed to call her mom anymore. Which, gee, I wonder where he heard that from. Which, I mean, there's something to be said about, the mom is the mom and the dad is the dad. But when the kids are young, they want a mother figure at each house. They want a father figure at each house. And if calling someone mom or dad helps them bond to that figure, so be it, you know? As long as when they reach a certain age, you can break it down for them and explain, hey, you know, this is not your real dad. He's still just as much a part of our family, but blah, 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 blah. At a young age, all you're doing by setting guidelines like that is, I feel, hurting a relationship that could be way better. And you're confusing them, I think, a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, and with Scarlett and with Mark and Livy, you know, neither of us ever told Scarlett to call Chris dad. Neither of us ever told Mark and Livy to call me mom. And I feel like I don't think it would be good to tell them to do that. But
right.
if they do it on their own, and you are yelling at them or, you know, telling them no, then that hurts them more than, you know, them calling their step-parent mom or dad. And
right.
I mean, because they're not really doing anything wrong. And I mean, it's not like, as long as that step-parent isn't trying to act like they're trying to replace the parent, then, you know, it's
right.
not really a big deal.
We've made it very clear to my kids that, you know, Ashley's the stepmom. Their mom is still their mom. Ashley's stepmom. And then with Scarlett, we've done the same thing. Scarlett knows I'm her stepdad. She still calls me dad every once in a while. But, you know, if her dad hears her call me dad, he flips out. He'll send her nasty text messages. And she probably gets in trouble over there if she says it. And it's dumb. You know, she's 4 years old. You know, Livy's 4 years old. Mark is only 7. And Mark's at that age where he understands now. He knows the difference. He knows the difference between his mom and his stepmom. So honestly, at that point, who's it hurting if he calls Ashley mom? Who's it hurting at all? You know, he knows the difference, and we're not trying to confuse him on the difference. We at no point have we ever said, you know, this is who this is, and, you know, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but we've never tried to lie to him about it. We've never tried to hide anything. You know, his mom is his mom. Ashley's his stepmom. He can call her whatever he wants. That's the attitude we have at our house. And I feel like and you know what? I'm not a therapist. I'm not anything like that. I don't have any scientific evidence behind this, but in my personal opinion, I think that's the healthy way to handle it, you know? Cuz it's not hurting anybody, and I feel like you're adding more confusion to it if you're trying to set up all those rules when they're that young. You know, they need a father figure, they need a mother figure. Let them have it.
So that you reminded me of something. You remember that time, just like out of nowhere, Livy was over at her house and she was like, "My mommy hates you. My mommy doesn't like you."
And see,
or something.
Those are the kinds of things that unfortunately they get fed at their mom's house. I don't think it's so bad anymore, but you know, my divorce was really nasty. It was really nasty and really rough for a while. It took forever. And so I never knew what she was telling the kids when they were over there. And unfortunately, they were over there a majority of the time. So, you know, and I feel like it's gotten a lot better, a lot looser. It's not so bad, but a situation the other day just happened when we were at Mark's baseball game. I was helping coach. So Ashley was, you know, sitting in the stands by herself. And Livy was sitting there with her mom, and Ashley tried to say hi to Livy, and Livy just completely blew her off. And I don't know if that's something we can guess, but we don't know for sure that that's something that her mom kind of fed her, like, or if that's just, you know, if she just feels that negative vibe from her mom that I don't want to talk to this person, so Livy's not going to talk to this person either, which that's not healthy. You know, for the kid, for anybody. So, I mean, if you're gonna be in a co-parenting relationship with your ex, you know, fucking be the bigger person. You know, be the bigger person and smile and be friendly and polite when the kids are around, because the kids see and hear everything you do, and you're just setting them up to be an asshole for the rest of their lives if you pull shit like that, you know? Ashley was I'll let you speak for yourself about it. Like, how did that make you feel when that happened?
Well, it's really upsetting because it's like, when Mark and Livy are over here, I mean, don't get what I'm saying confused. I'm not their mom when they're over here, but I'm kind of the mother figure. I help them brush their teeth. I read the books. I play with them. I cuddle with them. And then to go from that to being kind of the mother figure when they're over here to being completely ignored, it makes it very hard, because then it makes it harder to bond with them when they are over here, because I'm remembering that it's like I'm trying to remember that it's they're kids, they're 4 and 7, but it's kind of hard to forget that when they're over here that well, the other day Libby just completely ignored me, so that makes it hard to be a step parent. And I feel like, Chris being a step parent to my daughter has its own challenges, but and I feel like Chris would probably agree with me that my role as a step parent is kind of more difficult, just because just the situation that we're in.
The spiteful ex. It's as simple as that. The spiteful ex makes everything difficult.
Well,
especially
it's not that simple, because my ex is spiteful too.
Well,
but I have full physical and legal custody of my daughter. So it's like, no matter what my ex says, it doesn't really matter anyway, because what I say goes. So that definitely makes it easier. But, Chris and his ex, they have 50-50 legal custody, but she has physical custody. And right. So, her opinion does matter, and what she says does matter, and what she wants does matter. So that makes it very difficult. It's very difficult to, like I said, be the mother figure when you're over here, but then really have absolutely no say in what happens with them. I guess I do kind of have a say just in what Chris's opinion is, I influence him, but still, I'm not even close to their mom.
And for a while, things were even more difficult, just when we were living together, and, Ashley's around every time they're around, so she's already pretty much the stepmother figure, but we're not legally married yet. Something would happen, like this happened several times, when Ashley wasn't working full time, but I was. Like, my kids would be over for half the summer, and I would leave for work, and I couldn't leave my kids with Ashley, because she was not,
we eventually we won that battle.
Yeah, but we half won that battle, but she still came and picked them up during the day anyway, or I'd have to drop them off on the way to work. Whereas now, legally, if you were staying home for a day and I went to work, since you are legally their stepmom, I can leave them with you all day long now, and she has no say in that, because you're still a relative in the home, And that's a little off topic, I guess. But my point was that it was even more difficult before than it is now, just because of little things like that you weren't the stepmom before, so
and
even less rights.
Yeah, in the beginning it was very difficult. Like, Chris had to leave for work at like 4 a.m, and she was wanting to come pick the kids up at 4 a.m.
Oh yeah,
just so they didn't have to sleep in the same apartment as me for a couple hours. Though I would text her, or I'd text Chris to text her to let her know that the kids are awake, she can come get them. But that didn't matter.
Everybody had to know the protocol, that if she came knocking on the door at 4 o'clock in the morning, they were to call me, and then they were to call the police. Which that's a shitty situation. It's a shitty situation to put your kids in. So, and the whole reason she wanted that was just to be spiteful. And all we wanted was just let the kids sleep until they wake up. Then you can pick them up. It's not like we were trying to get away with leaving them there all day long. It was 2 or 3 more hours for them to sleep in, so we didn't have to drag them out of bed at 4 a.m. And she insisted on, which, like I said, we won that fight. She never did show up at 4 a.m, but she wanted to. And God, man, we really went off the rails here. This was about step parenting, and now it's about...
Well, anyway, so back on the subject. So, it's... I feel like I'm I'm kind of the opposite as most women. I actually feel better, at least with the women that my ex has been with since me. I mean, if he dated like a drug addict or whatever, I mean, this obviously wouldn't be true. But I honestly feel better when he's with another woman.
Yeah, he just remarried recently, and
Yeah.
it seems like things have been better just the last couple of months since they remarried.
I feel like my daughter's in better care when he has a woman around. Again, I mean, with the specific woman that he's been with, but
She comes home now with like a decent outfit on, and her hair is all done, and you know she's happy, and
I mean, she was happy before. She's always happy.
But I mean,
She
there's a clear difference in her mood. I feel
I've been getting child support regularly now. Now that he's with his now that he's with his new wife.
what a concept.
Yeah, and I don't know. The woman's nice to me. I mean, who the hell knows what she says about me behind my back, because who knows what he's been feeding her. But
Scarlett seems to like her a lot too. She talks about her every time she comes home, and that's good, you know.
And I like that, you know. And I mean, I really wouldn't care if she called her mom, to be completely honest. I mean, because I know she knows the difference. I know she knows that I'm her mom and that's her stepmom. And I mean, even if she was trying to replace me, I mean, she really can't, because Scarlett's here most of the time and she's only there every other weekend because, you know, he has minimal, like the minimum Indiana parenting guidelines, which is every other weekend and 1 weeknight visit, but he has never once taken advantage of his weeknight visit. So he only gets here every other weekend.
And sometimes not even that.
Yeah, sometimes not even that. And that's been better too, since he's been with her.
Yeah.
Where he's actually taking her consistently. But I actually like it better when he's with a woman, because it seems like, I mean, at least the woman is there taking care of her. I mean, God, I just remembered this. She used to come home with like, her butt was just raw and open, you know, from her diaper not being changed. And then you would notice a considerable difference when he was with a woman, you know, that her butt was actually getting changed. She didn't have terrible diaper rash when she came home. And I mean, so yeah, I mean, I'm kind of the opposite of most women, especially Chris's ex-wife, you know, where I actually prefer a woman to be around and help taking care of her. And, you know, I kind of hold that opinion, you know, if there's more people to love your kids, then, right. I mean, that benefits them.
I 100% agree with that. And I've been kind of, what am I trying to say here? I feel like having a step parent, or not even a step parent, just, you know, a father figure and a mother figure in both houses, you know, I feel like it's good for your kids to see that. It's good for your kids to see a healthy relationship. And you know, we keep saying father figure and mother figure, and that's not right either. It's good for them to see a healthy relationship. Like we know two women that are together that have two great kids, and it's a happy, healthy household over there, and that's something great for everybody in the family. You know, the kids need to see that. The kids need to see what a healthy relationship looks like, whether it's, you know, even if the thing with mom and dad doesn't work out and it's with somebody else, as long as they get to see that healthy relationship, that's going to help them develop a healthy relationship later in life. You know, if it's miserable and it stays miserable, that's what they're going to learn, and that's what it's going to be for them too.
Yeah, I mean, even if a kid's parents, you know, they get divorced and then they're with somebody else, if they see their parents happy with a step parent or whatever, I mean, that'll help them in the future know when with their first marriage, you know, is this person gonna treat me like, you know, my stepmom, stepdad treated my mom, dad, you know?
And you know what, no matter what your opinion, I'm sorry, did I cut you off? No matter what your opinion is of the other person, if they are not like a total creep, if they are good to your kids, whether you like them or not, you need to nurture that relationship, because your kids should learn that, you know, being friendly to people that are friendly is the right thing to do. And you know, being friendly to people that are part of your family even is more important. But like, if they see, man, I'm really losing my words here. If they see you, like the perfect example is at the baseball game. Livy should not be learning to ignore someone that's important in her life, you know? Just because her mom doesn't like her, she should not be learning that attitude. She should not be learning that behavior. That's a terrible thing to teach your kid. You know, no matter, like I said, no matter what you think of the person, no matter what, you know, that's you're just teaching your kids to be assholes. And then you're going to wonder later why they're such an asshole. And it's your fault, you know? It's entirely your fault if you're teaching them shit like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like, let's say me and his ex were next to each other. Kids aren't. I mean, they sense it. They probably still know that me and her don't like each other, but they would at least feel comfortable, you know, talking to me in front of her, and they wouldn't have to act like they don't know me. And I mean, I feel like that's a good lesson to teach your kids. You know, just because you don't like somebody doesn't mean you have to be an a-hole. You know,
right.
you have to act like an adult. And just because you don't like somebody doesn't mean you have to, you know, be mean. You know, anything like that. And
it all goes back to. It all comes back to just being the better person, you know. Even if you're absolutely 100% not the better person, act like you are every time.
You can think whatever the hell you want
right.
in your head. You can hate them, you can cuss at them, you can think terrible thoughts about them, but at least in front of your children,
when the kids are around,
act like they are your friend.
Put a big smile on your face, say hello, shake hands, whatever you got to do. If you don't want to touch them, just wave. That's fine. Just don't be an asshole, or you teach your kids to be an asshole. That's kind of, are we back off step parenting again? That's kind of along the lines of step parenting, yeah, I guess.
No. Well, anyway, you know, being a step parent is hard. It's very hard. And I mean, a kid's parents being divorced is hard.
Yeah.
And if the parents don't get along, that makes it harder. If step parents don't get along with other parents, that makes it even harder. And it's like, it's already going to be hard for you, so why make it harder for your kids too, and just mess them up in the future. But you know, it definitely makes for a very interesting dynamic in our household, just because, you know, me and Chris are in opposite situations where, you know, I have full custody of my daughter, you know, and my daughter pretty much knows Chris is her dad. Not because that's what we instilled in her, but just because Chris has always been there for her, you know. Chris goes to her ball games. Chris reads her stories at night. When Chris is out of town, he calls her every night. Whereas my ex, her real dad, has never been to one of her baseball games. And even when he's picking her up on days she has a baseball game, he always just so happens to come after. And he never calls her. Like, he'll call her once every couple months. So, like, every other weekend, she's...
Can I cut in here for a second? You mentioned something that, like, got me thinking now. Everything you were just mentioning. The fact that he doesn't come to her baseball games, and he doesn't call her every night. He maybe calls her like once a month. He'll again, I'm not gonna start railing on the guy.
Well, there's a difference between bashing and just stating facts.
Here's something that is, from my perspective, this is where being a step parent is hard for me, and it's kind of heartbreaking for me, because I went through a lot trying to get 50-50 custody of my kids. I went through a lot. and I lost that fight. And I only have my kids every other weekend, and it's been hard. It's been very hard. But then there's this guy that if he wanted his kid more, I don't think Ashley, well, I mean.
So in the beginning, maybe even now that he's with his wife, I guess I'd be a little more okay with it. But in the past, I wouldn't have been okay with that just because.
So here's where I'm torn, because I want Scarlett to have that solid dad figure in her life. And at the moment, I am that 95% of the time, except for when she's over at his house. And I'm okay with that because she needs it. But now what has me torn is like, what's going to happen if my ex starts seeing someone or gets remarried or whatever, and that guy is around my kids 12 out of 14 days? And not because I'm not trying, but just because that's what happened. And he's going to end up being the father figure. So like, I can see like, this is where it's hard for me. Like when Scarlett. Okay, so we just had a technical glitch and we cut out about 10 minutes of our conversation about me talking. No, it wasn't 10 minutes, but it was a good couple of minutes of me talking about.
Okay, just go on.
Well, you were the one talking, so I don't know where to leave off now. I guess we could just move on because we're not going to get those 5 minutes back.
Well, so Chris was saying, it's hard for him because
I can see. I want to be the dad in Scarlett's life because I feel like I don't want to replace her dad. That's not what I'm saying. But she needs a solid father figure, and when he's not there for her, I feel like I need to fill that role. What's hard for me is like he essentially is in the same situation I'm in, and I want to be there with my kids more, and I can't be. The difference is I don't feel like he tries hard.
Mm-mm. And that's what I always try to tell him. It'll be very different if and when his ex finally dates. Hopefully we'll have 50-50 custody by then.
God willing.
But, as I said before, it takes money. It's really, and especially in this situation, it's not really about his parenting. It's really about money. But the difference will be, Chris calls them every single night, 7 o'clock on the dot. And Chris is at their dance recitals. He's at Mark's baseball games. He buys them stuff. He helps purchase. He helps pay for sports. He helps pay for school supplies. Everything. And that's the difference. I think Scarlett acting like Chris is more of her dad has less to do with time and more to do with the fact that Chris is there. Like I said, Chris calls her every night. Chris tells her bedtime stories, and it's more about, quality than time. And that's kind of what I always try to tell Chris because he is very concerned about basically somebody replacing him, which he doesn't have. He doesn't have to worry. So it's like he almost feels guilty for being Scarlett's more of a dad for Scarlett, but
I would hate for that to happen to me, and it's hard for me to be the guy that's doing that to somebody else. That's all I'm saying. The only thing that helps me get through it is he doesn't deserve it most of the time. He doesn't. He's an asshole. That's all I can say. He's been better, I guess, recently.
But and although I'm happy about that, it just sucks to know that it's because he's married, and it's mostly the woman. And he's been married before already, and he's been with other women before. And when they separate or whatever, it goes back to the same crap. He can't take Scarlett because he's sick or his car broke down or. And
then we find out he takes her and then leaves her at home while he goes golfing.
Which that actually happened recently.
Yeah, that's super frustrating for me to hear.
Yeah, that's very frustrating because in my opinion, if I mean, if I only saw my kid every other weekend,
You get your kids 4 days a month, and you're going to spend an entire one of those 4 days fucking golfing.
yeah, and
It's absurd. It's absurd. Yeah. And don't get me wrong. There's been days that I had stuff scheduled on one of my 4 days a month that I was supposed to have my kids overnight. But I'll either spend every minute I can with them on those days, or I'll reschedule. I'll call their mom ahead of time and I'll say, hey, look, I got to be here this night. Can I take a different night instead? That's what you should be doing, you know? When you only have 4 days a month with your kid, that's your only 4 days to make sure that they know that you're still the dad and you still love them, you know? Yeah, okay. Again, we're getting off the rails again. This is not about bashing the other parent. This is about...
It's so easy, though.
I know. Well, but that's not what we're here to do. This isn't supposed to be... I don't know. This is supposed to be a lighthearted, funny podcast, and we've gotten pretty serious today. But
I feel like
step parenting is a serious topic. It's not easy. It's not easy for anybody. And granted, I have had it easy, as easy as you can have it as a step parent, because I've been with Scarlett since she was 6 months old. I'm all she remembers of me being around, and that makes everything easy. But
yeah, and that kind of makes it frustrating because Chris doesn't understand that I almost have to. I have to win them over. I have to win the kids over, you know. And
it's not that I don't understand that.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not that I don't understand.
Doesn't understand.
I do understand. I feel like you. And don't get me wrong, I understand. So this goes back directly back to the situation at the baseball game. We were talking about this the other day and how upset Ashley was that it happened, and I get it. I get why she was upset. I get why you were upset. I'll talk to you now. I get why you were upset. I really do. And I can't imagine if Scarlett did that to me. You know, that's the thing. Scarlett will call Ashley from her dad's house, and I can always hear her, "Where's Chris?" Or sometimes she'll say, "Where's Dad?" And then I'll hear him yell in the background, "It's Chris." But anyway, so I've never had to deal with that because whenever she sees Ashley, she immediately thinks, "Well, where's Chris?" Also, you know,
she likes Chris more than she likes me, actually.
It's because I'm fun dad.
Yeah,
fun dad. But so yeah, I get how upsetting that was for you, but at the same time, I tried to tell her the other day, and I'm telling you again. Livy's 4. You know, she doesn't know how to act yet.
Well, you know, there's that rational part of me that knows that, but then there's the other part of me that is just upset, and there's the rational part of me that's like, well, she probably just feels the bad vibes from her mom, you know, and doesn't want to upset her mom. But then there's that other part where it's like, well, maybe she really doesn't give a crap about me.
I guarantee that's not it. But, you know, I can say, so my parents separated when I was about, I want to say 10 years old, somewhere around there. And they were divorced a couple years after that. And my dad remarried. And I remember even at that age, when I was, you know, at least 10 years old, if not older, I remember how uncomfortable it was when both mom and stepmom are around each other. And I remember feeling guilty for talking to my stepmom and being friendly with my stepmom. Like, right, it was almost like right in my mom's face. I'm going to rub this into her face that, you know, there's this other mom here now and she's fun and nice to be around and blah, 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 blah. So I get, you know, the kid's point of view on that. I get that too. But that's why, as a parent, as a step parent, as any kind of authority figure in your child's life, you have to instill in them, you know, just at least being polite, being friendly, you know, just saying hello, waving, whatever, you know, Because whether or not you like them, they're picking that up, and it's crucial at that age that you teach them how to behave appropriately around other people.
And like I said, I'm a firm believer that, you love your children. So what's it going to hurt that there's more people around them to love them?
I entirely agree with that. And I feel like we've been making this point like probably the 10th time in this episode.
It's very important.
It is.
So, this whole time, this is supposed to be more lighthearted. I've been trying to think of something funny. But, just being a step parent, there's not really much fun with it. Well, I mean, at least in our case.
I was going to say, if we want to lighten this up a little bit, I do have something. I have a little bit of an audio clip I can play. It's actually a video, which I guess I can post the video on our Facebook page later. But we'll wrap up this step parent talk for now. Step parenting is an ongoing thing, obviously. It's a big topic, and we knew we weren't going to tackle it in one episode. We weren't even going to try. But just our experience so far in step parenting was what we wanted to talk about tonight. So I feel like we've adequately covered that topic for tonight. But
it sucks.
It does suck. Well, parenting sucks in general for the most part. That's the whole point of this podcast, right? That's why y'all are listening. But y'all. That's why y'all's listening. So anyway, I recently introduced. Moving on, I recently introduced Mark to Dungeons and Dragons because I'm a huge nerd and I love tabletop RPGs. And I have...
For non-nerds, what does RPGs mean?
Role-playing game. So a tabletop RPG, for those of you that aren't nerds, is a game where you create a character on a piece of paper using a set of rules, usually in a book, and rolling dice to figure out your attributes, such as your strength and your speed and blah, 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 blah. Anyway, Dungeons and Dragons is the most classic of all of those RPG games. If you've ever heard of any of those tabletop RPGs, it was probably Dungeons and Dragons. That's the one that I play. I have a box. It's a tote. It's not a box. It's a pretty large tote.
And it weighs like 3,000 pounds.
Full of Dungeons and Dragons books and notebooks that I've created characters and maps and stuff. Just full of nerdiness. And Mark recently found that box, and it's got all my little miniature figurines that I use while I'm playing and all my dice and stuff. And he got excited about it because they're little action figures with monsters and guys with swords and stuff, and he loves that kind of stuff. So I showed him like a super rough way to play the game using just 2 dice and, something that he could understand just to get a basis for the game. So we'll play it for 10-15 minutes, just enough to get him through a battle. He controls a couple of characters, and we'll play a battle, and that'll be it. Well, one day he was asking me to play, and I was busy. I think I was doing something with the girls because it was like an hour before their mom was going to pick them up. So I was spending some time with Livy before they left. And Mark was, "Oh, can you play Dungeons and Dragons with me?" And I was like, "Well, how about you just play it?" And he's like, "Well, I want you to watch me." So I was like, "Well, here, I'll give you my phone, and you can go record yourself playing, and I'll watch it later, okay? So I can see your game, and I'll tell you how you did." So I'm going to play a little clip of Mark playing this game just to fade the show out, I guess. This will be the end of our show for tonight. And like I said, we're going to be doing the show every other weekend. It'll be, every other Friday is when this airs. So this episode should be dropping on Friday I gotta look at my calendar. The 15th. So if you're listening to this on the day it dropped, it's Friday the 15th. Enjoy your weekend. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. Links to social media. We're on Facebook. You can look up Kids for Sale Podcast on Facebook. Twitter and Instagram. We are Kids for Sale at Kids for Sale Pod. And if you have any ideas for future episodes or things you want us to talk about, or if you want to tell us a funny story about your kids, you want us to read it, anything, any questions, comments, if I'm too loud, if I talk too much, if I'm annoying,
if I'm too quiet.
Yeah, that was a complaint we heard a lot from the first episode.
Granted, that was the first time I ever reported a podcast.
Yeah, so. She did good for her first episode, but I hope her volume was adequate today. If it's too quiet, let us know again. What was it? Oh, yeah. So you can drop us an email. I know the email address I gave you from the first episode was my personal email address. We now have a account for the show. It's kidsforsalepodcast@gmail.com.
Since when?
Since actually before the first episode even dropped, I made the account. But
and also, we're gonna kind of try to post the funny videos and stuff of our kids and funny stuff that they do on our podcast.
Yeah, just follow our Facebook page. We'll post videos of our kids from time to time. We'll post funny memes about kids, and I'm full of memes. That's all I do on Facebook. So. Yeah. There will always be content on our Facebook page, and like I said, we're new to Instagram. We will try to keep our Instagram updated also, and Twitter. I kind of hate Twitter, but just for the sake of the show and for the sake of getting it out there, we're gonna attempt Twitter as well. So check us out in those places. Send us an email if you have an idea, and we'll catch you in a couple of weeks on the next episode of Kids for Sale on the Journey into Comics Network. And thank you for listening. And we're going to play you out with Mark's Dungeons and Dragons game.
Hello everyone, my name's Mark, and do you want to watch me play? Okay? Alright, let's do this. Right now, I already started phase 1, and roll the dice. Let's see. This one gets 15, and the orcs get 9, 18.